Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane, episode 105.
Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by the team at Rewind. You know something? Accidents can happen, and they can have a major financial impact on your business. What happens if you install an app and it messes up your theme? Or you upload a product catalog with errors? Or even worse, a store collaborator deletes product images by mistake? The common myth is that Shopify has a backup that you can use when something goes wrong with your store. Untrue. Myth busted. Shopify has no native backups. So what do? You use Rewind to protect your store with automated backups. Rewind should be the first app you install to protect your store against human error, misbehaving apps, or collaborators gone bad. It's like having your very own magic undo button. The Rewind app is trusted by over 30,000 businesses, from side hustlers to the biggest online retailers like Gatorade or Movement Watches. And best of all, respond to any of their welcome emails and mention the E-commerce Fastlane podcast, and you'll get your first month of backups absolutely free. Protect your business, get peace of mind with Rewind backups. Download the app today from the Shopify App Store or by visiting rewind.io. Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-commerce Fastlane podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store, powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, new episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Or you can also sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com and be notified when a new show is being released. Now, my guest in today's episode is Matt O'Leary, who leads the technology partnerships at Shopify Plus. Now, Matt joined Shopify just over a year ago to lead the revamp and the relaunch of the Plus Technology Partners program, which includes the recently launched the Plus Certification App program. And it was designed to help Plus merchants find the best-in-class technology partners that will meet their needs. And so today, I'm hoping to discuss the background on how the program was developed, where it is now, and hopefully where it's going into the future. So hi, Matt. Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So let's talk on a high level first. I mentioned a tiny bit at the top of the show, but what does your role entail, and what problem are you and your team solving for Shopify Plus brands?
In terms of the role itself, it's really, as it describes, Plus technology partners are a key part of how Plus merchants experience the platform. And so really helping merchants discover and work with the best solutions and partners in the world, that's the role of my team. I think specifically the problem that we looked at solving first when I got here last year was twofold. One, how can we help merchants better discover technology partners? And two, how we make sure these partners meet the needs of our Plus merchants from a technical standpoint. Plus merchants are industry leaders, as we know. There's established brands. We talk about Staples, Lindt Chocolate, Heinz a lot. Innovative D2C standouts like Sassy Jones, Brooklinen, and Brightland. If you look at Plus merchants, there's 7,000 of them, which is a really small number when you think about Shopify having 1 million merchants. But the complexity and scale of these merchants is typically far greater than the majority of our Shopify merchants. And thus are the demands that they would have of the partners that they would work with. And so we wanted to find a way to meet their needs that are typically greater in the areas of performance, support, privacy, and security.
And I understand that Shopify really has created quite an interesting ecosystem or developer ecosystem and platform. Can you dig into a little bit on that?
Yeah, so one of the real moats that Shopify has around its business is this partner community that we've developed. Shopify as a product is going to build what most merchants need most of the time. And really from the beginning, we have relied on increasing the functionality of the platform with partners. And that is largely done through the Shopify App Store. The App Store was started in 2009, I think with 9 or 10 apps. that growth has been huge. There's now, I think, 4,200 partners that have apps in the App Store. And really, what we wanted to do was leverage that to find the apps that would best fit the needs of Plus merchants.
I noticed too, and I've mentioned this quite a bit, is that Shopify as a core platform does, I would say, almost 80% of commerce very well. It's just that final 20% that needs to be filled in with technology partners, either through custom applications or in a lot of cases through public apps, which is what we're talking about today.
It's a really good point. The whole idea of the Plus Certified App Program is for public apps, and these are apps, in many cases, are, depending on merchant need, preferable to building a custom app. It's typically cheaper. These apps have been doing the things that merchant needs for long periods of time, and finding ways to just improve how those apps are integrated with our platform and doing that on a continual basis. That was one of the main purposes of building this program.
Beautiful. So tell me a bit about your journey leading up, I guess, to the launch of this Plus Partner Certification Program. Like, what would you say uniquely positions you and your team, I guess, number one, to have the desire, and then number two, to have the expertise to develop this program?
Yeah, so I think just like a bit of really quick background on my career. I've had I think like many people at Shopify, a lot of twists and turns in it. I started my career, funnily enough, as a lobbyist in the UK and moved into technology about 10 years ago, starting in a product management role just to really cut my teeth and get an understanding of things from a technical standpoint, and had a number of different experiences along the way. The one most recently, previously to Shopify, being one of the founders of a relatively successful startup here in Canada. When I joined in my onboarding with Harley, actually, he spoke about the importance of getting the building of this program right and challenged me to draw on that experience as a founder to help create something that was going to be new and great. And I think you see, as you would know, Steve, a lot of that at Shopify in terms of people's background. Having been an entrepreneur myself, bringing that into the role, that was something that was unique. And that also included getting to build a team of amazingly talented individuals. Some new to Shopify, like me, and others who had a lot of experience internally in merchant success, in tech services, in support. And really what that created was a diverse group of people who had strong viewpoints on what we could do, create the best outcomes in building this program. And I think the most important thing of that was that we really wanted to build this program for merchants. Partners are, a really key audience for us, obviously, in a partner program, but the overarching objective for us is to help deliver merchant value through the way that we work with partners.
Yeah, I love it. And it kind of reminds me too of some of the internal workings with Plus merchants when you have a merchant success manager. It's interesting where we have a merchant growth model and we're actually able to leverage some best practices. So really it breaks down into acquisition, conversion, and retention, or brand strategy, business operations, or technical solutions and integrations. And each brand will be at a different maturity level. And what I find interesting about the Plus Technology Partners group is that they allow us to communicate with our merchants and make some appropriate recommendations of certain apps and marketing platforms that are part of this certification program. And then we really are helping drive more traffic or better conversions or lifetime value all through this merchant growth model framework.
The point that you bring up about what we wanted to do here was really just have a way to signal to merchants we have vetted the solutions that we're recommending. And I think that is a really important thing when merchants don't care at the end of the day where the situation was caused or whose fault it was. They just want to be able to deliver great experiences for their customers. And we, I think, have a responsibility to be able to leverage what we can to ensure that that's happening, on a consistent basis.
It's a great segue because one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of choices, and it's a growing list of choices in the Shopify App Store. And I think sometimes for some entrepreneurs and brands, it can be a little overwhelming. So are you able to share how the App Store, as it relates, I think, more to the Plus Technology Partners now, the certification partnership that you have, how are you able to make it a little easier to help merchants decide on what they may need for their store?
Yeah, so I think a lot of choices is probably an understatement. I think as I mentioned,
yeah.
There are 4,200 or so apps in the App Store. That number actually might be even wrong. I think there's probably more. When we looked at creating the program, deciding on which apps were going to best fit their needs was highlighted as a major pain point for Plus merchants in particular. There's different apps that are doing a bunch of different things, but as I said before, the needs of Plus merchants are typically more complex and different. And so one of the major primary goals of this program was to solve that very problem, which was to curate a list of apps that we had vetted to help Plus merchants just better figure out what was going to be the best solution for them. And in terms of how we're helping them decide, really one of the biggest things that our team is focusing on is how do we educate merchants through our internal Shopify teams, first and foremost, merchant success, but also technology services and sales. And I think that looking at that process, Steve, not just as a one-off, but as an ongoing iterative thing so that we're constantly understanding how our partners are improving, where they'll be adding the most value, and being able to communicate that through the trust that our merchant success teams have built with their merchants, as well as the other teams I just mentioned. That's the main avenue that we're looking at right now. We also have a Plus certified app directory. So this links directly to the Shopify App Store. It's on the Shopify Plus homepage, or accessible, through the Shopify Plus homepage. And that just lists the apps by category that we have vetted. There's an App Store collection that Plus merchants, when they're logged in to their Plus merchant account, can access in the Shopify App Store itself. And lastly, we work with Plus marketing team to develop case studies so that merchants can see in action how these solutions have worked for other merchants with potentially a similar profile to them or not. Lunch and learns with partners we've done with our internal teams, fact sheets, quick videos. There's a number of different tactical things that we're doing to just really try to ensure that merchants will have the most up-to-date information so that they're in a position to make the best choice for their business.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that these links are going to be in the show notes. Because some people that are listening today may not be on the Plus side of Shopify, so they're using the Shopify core platform, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the app recommendations that your team is giving, they still are valuable for Shopify core customers. So I want to make sure that those links are available in the show notes. So you can go there directly to see them. And I just had a quick check too under the Shopify app index. And there's, as of today, there's 4,653 total apps right now, as of August, so mid-August of 2020 right now. So it's a nonstop growing, thriving ecosystem. So it's really exciting.
It is. And just to add to that point, it's an important thing that you bring up is a lot of our partners who have been certified also have very large install bases across all of Shopify merchants. The idea behind certifying these partners was that we would make sure that they could meet the needs of Plus merchants in the areas of performance, support, security, and privacy. All of our apps in the App Store have to go through a review process to become a public app. This is just a certification layer on top of that review process.
Yeah, no, I love it. And one thing I noticed too, I do get quite a few pings through social media or through email saying, and they're on the Shopify core platform. They like to look up to a lot of the case studies and what success looks like for some of the larger brands on Shopify. And it's interesting that they still like to select a technology partner, even though, as you said, maybe they're not necessarily just for Plus merchants, probably more widely adopted on the Shopify core platform. But it's nice to be able to look up and going, hey, these brands over here have made these technology choices. I think that if they've vetted them and are using them, and it's part of the reason why they're successful, then maybe we should also, as a Shopify core customer, as a side hustle, or they're growing their business and they're doing their thing, maybe we may want to select these also. Almost aligns themselves with saying, hey, we really do want to grow and scale. Maybe we're not quite at the $1 million a year in GMV, whatever the cutoff to be offering value to be on Plus. And so if you're not quite there yet, there still is value in a lot of these Plus tech partners that have been pre-vetted by Matt's team.
That's exactly it. One of the biggest things that I would say to any new Shopify merchant is that there are 1 million plus people who have done this before, and looking to best practices is a great hack to becoming, a larger and more successful business yourself.
So you mentioned a few things about the certification process. Are you able to dig into what some of the factors are around it and how does it work?
Yeah, for sure. So the previous version of the program was reflective of where Plus began. It's really amazing to think that Plus is only 5 years old, given its success. And the previous version of this program, given that very fast rise, there was no technical standards that technology partners had to meet to be considered a partner. And there was a lack of understanding on behalf of merchants as well as partners about what it really meant to be a tech partner. So the goal of this version of the program is to be a true product partnership between us and our partners, where we're completely aligned on delivering product value for our shared customers. And ultimately, our way of doing that was to introduce a technical certification that was just a little bit higher bar than the App Store review process that all partners had to meet to be in the program. We're using that already as a signal to Plus merchants to let them know that Plus partners who have been certified can meet their needs in the areas of privacy, support, security, and performance. And those are the four big buckets. And there's a number of other things. But really, we just want to give comfort to our Plus merchants that on a really busy day or a flash sales day, these apps are going to be able to meet their needs.
So let's talk about some of the different technology trends that you see across the Shopify Plus merchants. What do you think would be the most relevant today for brands and merchants? Let's not worry about the size of them today, but maybe more in general terms.
The tech trends that we're seeing are typically when apps or when partners built for the App Store, they were building one piece of functionality, whether that be an ESP, reviews, loyalty solution. They were really good at doing one thing. And what we've seen across the board is a consolidation of features and functionalities. And this is particularly true in the marketing space. So merchants are looking to adopt a single technology provider that will offer them email, SMS, referral, and more apps are introducing this functionality by building it themselves. And we're also seeing acquisitions happen in the space. Really, that's going to provide, and that trend is an opportunity for merchants just to have a one-stop solution as opposed to having to download many apps. Another interesting thing that we're seeing, again, no surprise given the current environment, is this really the shift from offline to online, particularly as it pertains to big legacy retailers. Most of them did their business offline. It worked for many years. We have seen, as Harley and Toby are often saying, 2030 has been brought forward to 2020 as it pertains to e-commerce.
Right.
And so retailers, joining the Shopify Plus platform, using Shopify POS as an example, merchants will continue to adopt this technology as they look for new ways to increase sales, this omni-channel technology. And that's also an opportunity we see for partners.
That's awesome. So let's talk about some of these top categories or verticals that are within the Shopify App Store. For example, like what type of apps are you seeing a lot of merchants implementing today?
Yeah, so I think rather than think about like what a top category or vertical would be, as I mentioned, the idea about how we're trying to think about technology is through the lens of what the merchant needs. And so we look at two things. How big is the merchant? That is a good leading indicator of what their technology needs would be. And then also how complex are they? So, complexity can mean what does their offline versus online kind of mix look like? How many stores do they have? How international are they? And based off of that and those unique challenges, we will be able to kind of bucket for different groups of technology. That being said, we do see common themes across the board. So most merchants are using some sort of a marketing automation platform, whether that's an ESP partner like Klaviyo or Marcis.digital or Omnisend. Another big category is reviews. So Yapo, Power Reviews, showcasing customer reviews. That social proof is a huge way to directly increase conversions and sales. From there, we have customer support solutions, loyalty, shipping, analytics, search, personalization. All of these play a role that we see typically in a merchant's tech stack. And, as merchants grow or as we adopt more large scale retailers, looking at the adoption of apps like order and inventory management, PIMs, ERPs, we really started with the categories that majority of merchants would have a partner that they use within, and we're looking to build from that.
So Matt, this show has a diverse range of Shopify entrepreneurs that listen to the show each week. And if you were to give some advice for those, I guess, that are in the early stage of their business journey, what would that be today?
Two of the biggest challenges that we see anybody who's starting a Shopify store have are how do you kind of make your brand stand out and how do you attract customers to your website? The thing, as I mentioned, the first thing I would say is really get good at the basics. The way that you can do that is by leveraging so much of the content that Shopify puts out there. I think that people internally, externally, people who have never heard of Shopify, if you want to start an e-commerce business, there's really nothing that you can't find by all the resources that Shopify invests in building for merchants and for partners alike. So that's where I'd start, and learning how to get good at social media advertising, customer support, best practices for SEO. All this stuff is there and available for you to go and learn how to do through a number of different resources. So leverage those and get really good at building the basics. And then I think the second thing is when you're smaller, you have an opportunity to really experiment and to get outside of the box and find new marketing channels that might have a much better return on investment than spending on Facebook or Google. Going and building a YouTube content, trying these things out, taking more risks while you're small. That's the second thing I would say about how you could really go and build that brand. And I would say kind of an insight that we've seen is that even though Plus merchants typically have much larger customer bases, they actually are better at this than our early stage entrepreneurs. So taking a cue from some of the great work that Plus merchants do to build their brands is another place that early Shopify merchants can look to for inspiration.
That's really good feedback. I have quite a few brands that I manage, and one of the things that I notice that can happen occasionally is this analysis paralysis. There's a lot of things that brands can work on, but the reality is, and I have it on my wall, it's called progress over perfection. And it really is, let's make sure that we're actually doing and working on things and not just looking at data and thinking that an app is a magic bullet to solve your marketing problems or your efficiencies. That's not necessarily the answer. And I think part of it, you made some really good points about talking and thinking about some of the basics. And I also mentioned things like the crawl, walk, and run kind of scenario. You have to start somewhere. So if you're a Shopify core early stage customer doing your thing, learn how to crawl first and figure out some of the basics and get those branding and product market fit organized. Then learn to walk, then to run. And with all the resources, you're right, there's significant amount of resources through Shopify Compass, through our help docs, through YouTube channel. I mean, we're blowing up with this new YouTube channel now, the new show that's coming out by the time this episode is released called I Quit. And there's other shows that are coming out. There's lots of inspiration that's available to brands to figure out, well, what have others done before me and what can I learn from it with my brand? There isn't necessarily a playbook of do X, Y, and Z and get the outcome that you're hoping, but there are some basics that need to be implemented. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That there's like building a brand, building a company is a mixture of art and science. And so just getting the stuff down and really understanding the things that you need to do, the basic components of it, and then just leveraging that and getting to be creative. That's the stuff that's really fun.
Now, what about those listening today that would be considered in the mid-market? They would have a small marketing team. They're eager to grow and scale. Like from your vantage point, what should mid-market brands, so these are likely on Shopify Plus, what should they be working on today?
The biggest thing really is how many of your customers are coming back. By now, if you follow what we were just talking about, you've gotten really good at attracting customers to your website. And if that's happening, how many of them are repeat customers? How are they converting? How are you improving that rate? It's, I think, Retail 101 that it's much easier, or Business 101 actually, it applies to SaaS products too. It's much easier to retain an existing customer to find a new one. And so looking at what happens at the customer journey when they hit your site, how you're communicating with them, what messages they're seeing, how you're making sure that they come back, that's the thing that I would say is the place that I would focus. And the reason I'd say that is that it actually takes more work. Drawing on what we'd said previously, to getting to experiment with new marketing channels and attracting customers to your website, that can be a little bit done in a little bit less organized way, but really going deep and understanding your buyer journey. That is, it's just a different level of focus that brands who are in that mid-market, I think anyways, should be focusing on.
Yeah, I love the lifetime value and the repeat customer insights and just kind of retainment initiatives. I think that's super important. I'd also add to today, which I think is super important for all brands listening today, is that what are you doing to build your opt-in list? Be it email, SMS, push, Facebook Messenger, whatever your opt-ins are. There's lots of Plus certified apps out there that can help you with these sorts of initiatives, from exit intent, browse, or cart recovery, offering incentives for new visitors. There's lots of things that you could be doing today. I highly recommend, just because ad costs are going to go up when you get into the holiday season. With this, once it gets to the US Thanksgiving, then into BFCM, then into the holiday season, just because there's more people advertising, and because of that, ad prices go up. So it's super imperative. If you're listening today, I implore you to pause what you're doing and think about, what am I doing to build my opt-in list today? I have a lot of brands that have just turned on push notifications through an app that they're using, because even though they're not going to execute a browser push campaign yet, they're at least getting the opt-ins now. And when there is a campaign, they're able to push out. Same as SMS or same as email or Facebook Messenger is another huge opportunity right now just to get that opt-in. I'll make sure I put some links in the show notes about some best practices and some of the best apps that people are using right now to help build all of these opt-ins now pre-BFCM. Building your list now, building a relationship now, we're really going to help you in the future.
Yeah, I think that is perfectly said, Steve. The benefit of being a Shopify merchant is that you get to own the relationship with your customer. And so once you hit that mid-market, really doubling down on that is the best thing you can do.
So let's talk about the future of the Plus certification program. Are you able to share any North Star highlights for, I guess we're just shy of going into we're in Q3 right now. So Q3, Q4 into 21 roadmap. How do you believe this program is going to continue to develop and offering value and for growing and scaling Shopify brands?
Yeah, so we launched the first version of the program only 3 months ago with 34 partners. We've since added 10 more in the key categories we talked about it today, in SMS and messaging, in data or BI reporting, customer support. The North Star of the program is going to be continuously evolving how we deliver value and improve the platform experience for Plus merchants with our partners. We'll never deviate from that. What that looks like in 2021 and beyond means continuing to build on the baseline certification that we've developed so that we're really improving that as a signal that Plus merchants understand is a signifier of value. And that just takes time. Again, we only launched 3 months ago. And then that also means just finding ways to partner with new and interesting technologies that are going to deliver value for our merchants. And so those are the things that we're going to be focusing on now that we're just through this first 3 months of getting the program stood up. And that's going to be where we continue to focus in the next year and beyond.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. So we are nearing the end of the show for today, but do you have any closing comments or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think, look, we're really at the beginning of what is a really bright future for merchants and tech partners. Our focus is helping merchants improve their businesses by helping them find the best technology partners. And one of the things that I would say is that we're constantly looking to hear from merchants about what they value and how we can help to improve their experience. So working through their merchant success manager, writing directly into support, giving feedback, the one thing that I would say would be great to hear more of. And other than that, just keep a lookout on the Plus website because we're going to continuously have updates as we add new partners and solutions.
So how can people learn more about the certification program? I guess there's two sides with it. There's merchants listening today who want to know what these apps are, this ongoing list. And then I guess there's other people listening today who are partners that have public apps in the App Store, and they would like to know that whole process.
So we have 2 links, and it sounds like you'll be able to link to them in the show notes. But the first for partners is at help.shopify.com/partners/plus certified app program. A mouthful if there ever was one, is the details on our certification as well as our application itself so that you can apply to be a Plus certified app. For our merchants, visiting www.shopify.com/plus/partners/technology. Again, another mouthful. That is where you can see the list of our current technology partners. And as well, for merchants, if you visit the App Store, you'll be able to find the Plus certified app collection.
Yes, I will 100% for sure have those links in the show notes for sure. So as you know, Matt, Shopify's mission really is to make commerce better for everyone. And it's clear to me, based on this recording today, that you and the tech partners team really are in tight alignment with wanting to help these Shopify brands to, I guess, improve efficiencies, grow revenue, and at the end of the day, build lifetime customer loyalty. I massively appreciate you sharing your knowledge and really giving back to the Shopify ecosystem.
Steve, thank you so much for having me. I was really happy to be here and explain more about the program and have a chat with you.
This episode was brought to you by the team at Rewind. If you're a Shopify partner, join leading agencies like The Tap Room, Milk Bottle Labs, BVA, and more in the Rewind Agency Partner Program. You can earn up to $1,000 for recommending Rewind to your clients. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you're a merchant, feel confident and enjoy peace of mind that your store is always safe with automatic backups by Rewind. Learn more by looking up Rewind in the Shopify App Store or by visiting rewind.io. And make sure you mention E-commerce Fastlane podcast and you'll get your first month absolutely free. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.